Welcome. I'm Randy Wall, and welcome to the New Covenant Church Online Bible Study. I'm so glad you're here for this edition as we study the Gospel of Luke. Today we'll be looking at the 15th chapter of the Gospel of Luke, probably one of the most well-known chapters indeed in the not only Gospel of Luke, but perhaps in the Gospels themselves. If you haven't already done so, I invite you to read the Gospel of Luke. Stop the video now and go get your Bible. Also, check out some of our other videos if you're a first-time guest to our video channel. Our other videos on the Gospel of Luke. We have videos on also the birth stories of Jesus in Matthew and Luke. You also will find resources on why the Bible is hard to understand, tips on reading and studying the Bible, and other resources that may be helpful to you in your study of the Bible. Luke 15, let's look at that now if we will. Luke 15 basically is composed of three parables of Jesus. Parables of Jesus, where Jesus takes a human situation, a real-life situation, and seeks to make a point. These three parables are prompted by Jesus sitting down, as we read in verses 1 and 2. The setting is Jesus is eating with sinners, and the religious leaders began to criticize him for it. And so Jesus tells these three parables. In verses 3 through 7, we hear the parable of the lost sheep. A shepherd is looking after 100 sheep, so the parable goes. Now these 100 sheep might have been the property of a very rich landowner or a person who had livestock, but more than likely they were a accumulation of all the sheep in the community. A shepherd would have been looking after the sheep for everyone, for all the sheep in the community would be together. And so the shepherd leaves the 99 sheep and goes and in seeking this one lost sheep. It was not uncommon for sheep to be lost in those days. They would look for greener pastures and would go to other places. And so the shepherd finds the one sheep and comes back and tells the community, and everyone rejoices with him because of the one lost sheep. Perhaps the people in the community had no idea whether that sheep was theirs or one of their relatives or one of their neighbors. In verses 8 through 9, we hear a very short parable, the parable of the lost coin. We go from a lost sheep to a lost coin. A woman has 10 coins and loses one of them. Houses in that day were very poorly lit. There wasn't electricity and there was very little lamplight. And so this woman searches and searches to find her one lost coin. Perhaps those 10 coins were all the money that she has in the world. Perhaps the woman was a widow. We really don't know. But she searches diligently to find that one lost coin and is so happy when she finds it that she calls her friends and neighbors to rejoice with her. Finally, in verses 11 through 32, we find a parable that's a little longer, the parable of the lost son, the prodigal son, as we call it. A younger son asks the unthinkable in that day. He wants his share of his inheritance. In other words, he wants to be treated as if his father was deceased and had died and was leaving his inheritance to him. And so the young man goes to a faraway country. Now, far away in that day is perhaps much different than far away for us. For us, a faraway country would be a country in South America or in Africa, but in that day it could be as close as 20 or 30 miles away. While the young man is in this foreign country, the parable goes that the young man wastes it all in wild and loose living and resorts to what would have been unthinkable for a faithful Jewish boy in that day, feeding pigs. He finally comes to his senses, you might say, to put it in a spiritual way, that he repents and he decides that he will return home. He rehearses what he will say to his father. when he does finally reach home. As the boy gets near home, his father does the unthinkable for an older man in that day. His father runs to him. He kisses him and he welcomes him back home. The son does not get to say his rehearsed speech due to the warm welcome of his father. His father, who gives the younger son sandals for his feet and rings for his fingers and a robe for his body, all signs of sonship. And he calls for a great party to celebrate this son who had been lost but was now found. Meanwhile, the older son comes in from working in the field to find out from one of his father's servants that a party is going on. He is dismayed when he discovers that the reason why the party is going on is because his younger brother has come home. The story ends with the father going to this older son who basically refuses to go into the party. We see this father who not only rejoices in the younger son being home, but who doesn't want to lose his older son either. The story really has no ending. We don't know what happened, whether the older son went into the party or not. We don't know what happened to the younger son after the party. We're left wondering to ourselves how the story will end. These parables are important for us in our own faith as we think about the joy that comes in those who were lost to the Lord suddenly being found. And I hope that they speak to you as much as they spoke to the people of Jesus' day. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the New Covenant Church Online Bible Study as we've looked at Luke 15. Again, check out our other videos, share your comments, and sign up for our Facebook page, New Covenant Church Online Bible Study, if you haven't already done so. May God keep you and bless you always. Take care. Bye-bye.